Hi, I'm Monica Gaines. I work in the Solutions Architecture team in engineering, and today I'll be talking about sharing groups. I've been at Portal for about 6.5 years, so hopefully I know a bit about this topic. So let's start. So the lesson objectives today are to talk about discount sharing groups and charge sharing groups. Discount sharing groups are groups where you would assign discounts and members to share discounts across specific groups. So your group members would be eligible for any of the discounts that are in the group owned by the group owner. So for example, you can share free minutes. A member is charged for usage, but they would be using the owner's free minutes resources to be able to credit their account, or you could actually do 10% discounts. A member is charged for usage, and then they'll get 10% off of their discount usage. This is going to replace the discount owner and discount bundle ERAs that are currently in the account object. The charge sharing group is where you're going to split charges across a group owner and its members. Again, you can have one or more charge sharing objects. Charge sharing object itself is similar to a discount object, and both the discount object and the charge share objects are defined in Pricing Center. Let's talk a little bit about discount sharing groups. So an account or service may choose to share their discounts with a group of other accounts and or services. Accounts and services are eligible for group discounts are listed as members of the discount sharing group. And the discount sharing group must specify the account that owns the group, the balance group, which is where your resources are going to be shared, discount objects that actually belong to the owner of the group, and the list of group members. In order for discount sharing groups to actually fully work, you also need to define an ordered balance group on each of the members' side. The ordered balance group is going to list the sharing groups which the member belongs to. They will be specified in the order on which they're going to be applied. And then the discount sharing groups are actually listed in front of the charge sharing group. So your ordered balance group is going to be for both your list of discounts and your list of charge share groups. So this is a diagram of a discount sharing group. In the center you see I have my owner with the balance groups, the discounts that might be associated with it, and my list of members. So let's look at sharing group 2. I've got 2 discounts associated with it. And this one's going to, the owner is actually going to be an account or a service. The balance group will then list each of the resources that may or may not be used within the discounts themselves. And then you have a list of members or services that are actually going to be eligible for sharing those groups. So, and then if you look down at the bottom where I'm actually looking at the ordered balance group, you'll see in this particular example that I'm listing self, which would be the discounts that the member currently owns, and then the discount share group 2, which is the sharing group that I belong to. What this means is that it will use my discounts first, and then I will use those discounts defined by the sharing group. So the order actually does matter in the ordered balance group. And let's see, on the other side, we actually have a similar scenario, except this member is actually a member of 2 discount sharing groups. So I'm using discount sharing group 1 first, then my own discounts, and then the discounts that are defined in discount sharing group 2. So when you create a discount sharing group, we've actually are adding that functionality to Customer Center. You will be naming your discount sharing group. You would select the balance group that is actually going to be used in the sharing. The balance group can either be defined at an account level or at a service level. You will select your owner's discounts that you would like to share, and then you would select any of the discount sharing group members, which can be either a service instance or an account. So here's some shots of what the user interface looks like in Customer Center. So again, this is where I'm going to define the name. This is the discount sharing group panel. Here's the name. The balance method is listing the balance group that I'm using. In this particular case, it actually belongs to a service instance, and that would be GSM. And then it's got some additional information about billing that for informational purposes. To add members, you can't really see there's a button on the discounts to apply. I'm sorry, to add discounts. Discounts to apply. This will bring up all of the discounts that the current owner has in their account. So you can select one or more of those and then add them to the discount sharing group. Next, you're going to want to add members to the discount sharing group. Again, I'm trying to think of where it is. There's a, is it this one? There's a menu item or a button that says Add Members, which will bring up a search. It'll bring up a search dialog where you can go, and if you're familiar with Customer Center, you're familiar with this search screen. It's very similar. You can go and look up account information and bring up the accounts that you're necessarily interested in. Select the accounts. This is actually a wizard because we'll go to a next screen. You'll see where you can actually define specific service instances. So I've selected here 3 accounts to add as members to this discount sharing group. And then once you've selected the members, you need to select whether or not you want to have an account, the account itself, which would be that would be your first bullet, any non-service charge, specific service instances, or specific service types. A little complicated. So this first column here, only currently selected owned, this would be where I select any service instances that the account currently owns. So for example, if I select all GSM services and then I select the button underneath that column, that would mean any current service instance, GSM service instance that account owns will be added as a member to this discount sharing group. Yes?
Is this extensible for custom services?
Is this extensible for custom services? So I'm actually listing all the service types within the account, so yes, any custom services would also show up there automatically.
Really? Based on service class, subclass?
Correct. The second column where it says current and future services, this is where you would actually be selecting something for, say, service type. So for example, let's say I have an account and I have 3 GSM services in it, but I know in the future that they may necessarily be adding a few more. If I put in the service type, then I automatically will get those future service instances that they may purchase. Those will also be eligible for the charge sharing group. So that would be a case where you might want to use the service type as opposed to the service instance. Sure.
We'll see this panel in a minute, but when it says all GSM services, where would we find out what does that mean? Is that service left in GSM/star? What does that text mean in terms of a real service?
So what does all GSM services mean?
Yeah.
So if you think of it as a subclassing scenario, my very top class would be /service/GSM. Subclass would be potentially service GSM telephony. If I pick all GSM services, that means all GSM and all of its subclasses would be included.
I'm actually not asking a specific question. I'm asking generically, how do I find out what that checkbox is mapped to in terms of the superclass?
To the actual service type?
Where is there a configuration file and something that tells me what that text means?
I believe that text is defined in a configuration file somewhere, and that's for purposes for CSRs, they've displayed it this way as opposed to showing the specific service names, just for more readability. In most cases, you can take, it's really, the first word is /service/something, and so everything else, and down here I actually have GPRS, MapQuest, Special, so I've actually got the service type spelled out below.
Okay, so
does that answer your question?
I guess, so whatever is listed there, GSM and GPRS, so I think that's the first thing under service.
Correct. So charge sharing groups are similar to discount sharing groups, at least as far as the setup is concerned. Again, accounts or services can sponsor the event charges for other accounts. You must specify the account that will be charged, a balance group that will be impacted, charge share objects that are eligible or useful in this group, and then the group members who are eligible for the charge share. Again, similar diagram, only in this particular case I'm looking at charge shares. I have my owner. In the case of my sharing group 2, my account or service is actually the one who's got the balance group, and then my charge share is going to be using actually 3 resources in balance group 1. I have 2 charge shares associated with it. Now, charge shares aren't owned. They're actually shared across the system. So when I go to add these particular things, I'm going to be looking at all the charge shares that are defined in the system itself as opposed to specifically something that an account owns. And then again, I also need to update the ordered balance group of the member in order for that charge share to actually be eligible or working. And charge shares are listed at the bottom of the ordered balance group. And so in ordered balance group 1, I've got a discount sharing group. I've got a charge share group. Actually, there is no such thing as self charge shares, so that would be that would actually be all my discounts that I might own, and then charge share group 2.
Monica, is that correct? Could you have your discounts listed after? I mean, you typically wouldn't, would you?
The way that it works in the pipeline,
right.
I'm going to go through, I'm going to do my rating, then I'm going to do my discounting, then I'm going to do my charge sharing, because typically your rates or your discounts are also going to be eligible for splitting across different things. So if I gave a 10% discount on all usage, I would also want that reflected once I split it across my charge share owner and my charge share members.
So in this slide, I should probably move self up above the charge share.
Yeah, I think it wouldn't matter as far as how it would work in the system. It would still work correctly.
Oh, it would?
Yeah.
So it would do DSG 1, and then it would do self.
Right.
Okay.
Right, because self really only applies to discounts. It doesn't apply to charge shares because they can't be owned. But it definitely does matter ordering, at least within respect of each of the groups, on what's going to get impacted first. So this is the charge share object window from Pricing Center. It's actually a very simplified version of a discount. I have a name, I enter a description, its effective dates, and then I pretty much map events to charge share models. And so this is a event session, goes to GPRS usage and charge share. So the configuration for a charge share model is actually very, very similar to discount sharing, or to the discount model itself. The charge share and discount master, rule, and trigger are actually can be used across both discounts and across charge shares. The only difference is actually the charge share model and the discount model. So the triggers will define your conditions on when I can actually apply a rule, and then the rule steps and balance impacts define the charges that are actually going to be sponsored. So to create a charge sharing group in Customer Center, again, I'll name it, I'll give it a name, I will select a balance group, select one or more charge share objects. This will define how I'm going to share across the owner and the members, and then select the group of members to participate. So this is an example of what I might do as far as setup goes using both charge sharing and discount sharing. In this particular case, account A has a telephony plan with 300 peak minutes granted monthly. This service is going to be tracked in an account level balance group. And then account B has two plans with two service instances, each with its own balance group, so it has its own set of peak minutes which are granted monthly. And so what we're going to do is have account A share its peak minutes with account B after B uses up all of its peak minutes. And then there's also going to be a charge sharing scenario where the account will pay 80% of the peak time usage for the charges for the two services in account B. So how are we going to set this up? So here's just a graph of what the balance group looks like. So when I purchase these accounts, when I cycle, so I'm going to get 300 peak minutes in account A, and for both of the service level balance groups in account B, I'll have 500 peak minutes. And so again, I'll want to use, so the peak minutes will be doing a discounting scenario. So I'll want to use account B's peak minutes first, and then I will share or use account A's minutes. And then account A is always going to pay for 80% of my account B's peak charges. So let's start with the charge sharing scenario. I'll configure balance impacts. I'll define a rule that has a master that uses a time zone of peak. What this actually means is when a call comes in, it's going to have to actually get split in rating first to be peak versus off-peak in order for this to actually apply. So what it will say is, okay, if I've had my charge split, I'm going to only look at the peak minutes, and then for every minute in peak, I will apply an 80% total charge to the charge share owner, which would be account A, and then I will actually subtract 80% of the total charges from the charge share members or the event owner's account. So within Pricing Center, I would create a charge share model, and then I would go and select, I would create a charge share, and then I would go and select the charge share model and associate it just with delayed GSM events. So, and then I will need to go into Customer Center to actually create the charge sharing group. So I'll name it 80% charge share. Account A's balance group will contain the impacted resources. I'll select the charge share object that I just created in Pricing Center, and then I'll add the charge sharing members for account B, both Service 1 and Service 2. By the same token, so we'll assume I already had my discounts for doing the minutes set up already. I'll go and do a discount sharing group for the peak minutes discount, which is owned by account A. I'll specify that account A's balance group is the one to be impacted, the discount object, and again, both account B, Service 1, and Service 2 will be added as members to the sharing group. Final step, I need to go and update or create the ordered balance groups for Service 1 and Service 2 for account B. So I will put the self or all the discounts owned by Service 1 first because I want to use my own minutes before I use the shared minutes. Then I'll add the peak minutes discount sharing group, and then I'll add the charge sharing group. So although snowball discounting isn't really listed as under group sharing, it is a sharing activity. You would actually specify in the discount object whether or not it's actually a snowball discount. Again, the setup for them is pretty much the same way. You're going to be creating a discount model to track the usage for all the members via an aggregation counter. That way you know who contributed what to that particular counter. And then you'll set up a billing time event that'll map the discount model, that will map the discount model to that event. Then you would create a discount sharing group where you would actually list all of the members who are going to contribute to your snowball balance. And then there's a configuration file called pin snowball distribution where you would actually define how the distribution is going to occur. If you specify the resource ID, which would be the resource ID defined in your contribution of your discount object, that's going to split the actual snowball evenly or based upon the contributions of each of the members who did it. If you specify 0, is it 0?
Yes.
If you specify 0, then it's actually going to distribute it evenly regardless of how they contributed to the account. Any other questions?
So this is really balanced group based, because in the more, I can think of a more common situation where I have one account now with four services, like my current home phone that I have a phone, the wife has a phone, the kids have a phone, it's all in one account now. Each one has its own balance. Rather than having to share between account A and account B, it'd really be within balance groups in account A. Right?
So is this really balance group based? The actual sharing part, yes. Does that mean that I'm required to have it across different accounts? No, because you can specify service instances to actually be members. So the scenario that you had where I have a single account and I have different lines for each of my family members, you could set up a sharing scenario for that where the owner would be, the parent perhaps, or one of the service instances would be the owner of the group, and then all of the children or the other lines would be members of that, and then they should be, again, you have to go set up the ordered balance groups, and then they'd be able to participate or use the free minutes or actually use the discounts associated with that account. The balance, so you want a balance group to own or be part of the charge sharing or the discount sharing group. Whether or not, so in the scenario, you can probably conceive that, yeah, each line would have its own balance group and probably be using that, but that doesn't prevent it. It's like if I had an account that had 4 services and they were all sharing the same account balance group, from that perspective, if I'm a member, my balance group really doesn't matter. It's the balance group of the group owner.
If they're all member of the same balance group, then they're already sharing. They don't even need to be a member, right?
Exactly. If I only have one balance group, then there's no real reason for me to do sharing at all.
Right, but they might have their own SMS balance that will share multiple people. It's a common plan right now.
Correct.
Right.
So, in summary, a discount sharing group has an owner account, a balance group, which will be for your shared pool of resources, discount objects, which are owned by the discount sharing group owner, and then members whose events will actually impact the shared resource pool or use the discounts of the owner account. A charge sharing group also has an owner account. It also has a balance group that will contain the resources that are going to be impacted. It has charge share objects, which are not owned by the account, which are actually common across your environment, and then the members would be those whose events are going to be sponsored. And this will be an exercise left for you to do later.
Yeah, so this is a continuation of our previous 2 exercises. We're going to find that our multiple lines don't automatically all share the account resources. So we're going to create a discount share group in order to share their discount. That will be in the afternoon.
Oh, so I guess that's it for the sharing group session.